Hey guys, Stealth here and welcome back to Wargame. We're on Gunboat Diplomacy today for a 10v10 tactical and I'm going to be providing air support. I am solo, or at least I was solo on this one. I just jumped into Wargame, wanted to play a game and hopped off after that, so I was only on for a very short time. Now this is going to be a bit of an experimental replay. Normally I just record these replays and do my commentary over it, but now I might be using that pen tool that I did on the previous, or on the tactics video from a couple days ago. Anyway, Gunboat Diplomacy, where usually you have fights over Ivan in the town. Let me just keep practicing with that. You got fights over Ivan here in the town, this area. The area over here can be accessed from this side, although it's not easy. And you do need to be a bit careful, of course, with the area over here. If blue gets over there, I'm playing red, or USSR Airborne, by the way. If blue gets over here, we're going to be in trouble. Now, initially, I'm going with an Su-27M, so you cannot see my plane, because aircom and stuff like that is not enabled in replays. What you can see is a few of my other units. I have 2 Conqueror's Jeeps and a Ural with a recon sniper team inside. Sniper team's going to sit over here on the ridge line close to the water, that little bit of forest or tree line over there. And they're going to tell me what they see on the other side. Blue 4, interestingly, is throwing a cluster artillery salvo our way. Not necessarily anything extremely damaging, but just mostly annoying. Apache pushes in, immediately gets shot down by the guy that was assisting me over here, and thanks to color blindness I can barely read what his name is. Aviator, I guess. As you can see, my Conquerors have survived for the moment, and their Apache fortunately didn't. But blue is not done clustering just yet. Nope, there's more. And this time around, the Conqueror's Jeep, where it was, is in a pretty safe position. And I move it away, trying to keep it alive, and unfortunately it gets killed off. Now, these Conqueror's Jeeps are not going to be very important, but I saw that there was very little of our team going to this side. Very few members, and that means that I was going to go there instead. Now, it is the naval variant, so we do have some ships. This is X-Team Flash and Aviator with a Hujan. These ships are going to be quite important. And I do like that this Hujan is elite, which is going to make it easier for this ship to intercept enemy missiles that might be fired at the Jangyu 3s. Now, I know that blue has a couple of fighters overhead. We got the Monotarist with the F-15C Eagle. There's somebody operating a Tomcat, and I'm not exactly sure if it's the same guy. Now, there's not a whole lot of attack markers going up all over the region, but there was some chat. And this guy, Mad Doctor, is pushing 4 Book M1s into the middle of the map to completely shut down any sort of airplay that blue might attempt. These are important for me, because I have an Su-27M, and the Su-27M is quite good at taking down enemy planes, but it's expensive to risk. Especially if the enemy has a couple of F-15s and a Tomcat. So that's not something I want to do. In the meanwhile, my Spetsnaz is spotting the STRB-90H, and the Conqueror's Jeep is returning fire at it. Interestingly, this ship does not have line of sight on my Conqueror's M. It does have exceptional optics, but apparently it was not able to spot the Conqueror's M, which I found quite confusing. I found it quite confusing that the Conqueror's M was able to fire in the first place. Because I thought that from this tree line, you just cannot fire beyond this tree line. This little position over here is where the Jeep was. And it's firing through the trees at the departing STRB-90H. One hit brought him down to 1 of his hit points, one of its 3. Which makes sense, because these things have a strength of 40. They have a little bit of armor, but I have a lot of pen. I have 23 pen, which means that I do a lot of damage to that ship, and I think another missile could have finished it off. So the STRB-90H is forced to pull back. I'm also relocating my Conquerors to make sure that I don't get RD'd by example, or, well, by mistake or by intent. You never know what the enemy is going to do. My team, in the meanwhile, was doing quite well in the middle. I didn't actually pay that much attention to this region, but they seem to be holding their own. I didn't really have to do much, which is fortunate. Because if you're using an airborne deck like I was, well, ideally I wouldn't really be supporting over here. There's a lot of potential for blue for anti-air. The buildings over here, for example, are usually just line infantry. But the buildings here, here, and slightly over here could be AA infantry. And on top of that, there could be a big fat Patriot on that line. So I am quite concerned and quite careful not to really send any planes over here. Furthermore, the enemy had those units. They had those Tomcats, they had the F-15C, and I did check, those things were eluded. So that means that they were really quite dangerous. Somebody's saying, please spread these apart. That's I am Dolor. It's quite the investment that's sitting over here. That is 4 times 85 points in close proximity. A couple of artillery strikes and you're a dead set of books. Which would drastically change the air game here. Now we got a fighter coming in. Su-27M from Piotrek 126 takes it out. I'm not exactly sure what sort of plane that was. I think that was an F-111G with the ASMs, the anti-ship missiles. Don't really send out ships or send out a helicopter. No, send out planes towards ships alone. It's not going to work out. You need to overwhelm the enemy's anti-missile defenses. And with these 3 ships together, you're going to need a lot more than one of those planes. Now, here are the F-15Cs. This one's elite, Sharpmaster, and the other one is elite from Monetarist. Not something I want to go up against. I do have my, at this point, recently bought, come on game, Su-27PU out. In this case, I am not trying to engage. I'm just keeping it circling here, because the moment that I go that way, I will be able to potentially get some missiles at that F-15C, but I'll have to try and turn around. At which point, I will be either evacing or I will be shot at by both the Eagles and whatever AA they might have in this forest. So I was very risky, or very careful not to risk that plane. And I was mostly banking on these books going active and trying to shoot those jets down if they were getting closer. But these guys were playing it well. They were not falling for it, they were not getting close, and with that I was not able to shoot them down. This Tomcat, though, from Monetarist is trying it. He, of course, has better range. And at this point, I think he was in range of the books. Unfortunately, the books were relocating to this little line over here, which really was a poor timing, because I think they could have taken at least one shot at that F-14. F-14 has decent ECM, but 4 missiles from a book, well, you can reasonably expect 1 or 2 hits. And there goes the F-15C. That's at least 1 fighter less to worry about. Very happy that that thing went down, because now my jets don't have to worry about them as much. Over on the right side of the map, blue was skirmishing, and they were skirmishing a lot. They had SAS over here. They had a couple of Lynxes dropping off more SAS, and judging by the veterancy, that means SBS, potentially SBS, Special Boat Service Reconnaissance Infantry. So I was quite careful not to get my helicopters, or any other flying stuff, too close to this line, because I might get shot at. SAS only have a Stinger, but park enough SCS in this line and they can really become a problem. But the guy over here, Meat Shield, he was on top of this and he was trying to take them down. Unfortunately from slightly too close of a distance, and the XA-185KT gets taken out by the SAS. The second one's at greater distance, but the SAS close in and wipe it out. So unfortunately, bad day for the XA-185KTs. A couple of Lynxes are now pushing up, trying to get hits in with those rocket pods, and the snebs are accurate. You don't want to be on the receiving end of a salvo of one of these things. I think the Erics over here were actually quite capable of scaring them off. They only carry 4 Igloos, and they could have very easily been overwhelmed. But Gogo is going elsewhere and making sure he's not going to get hit. Now, I'm still seeing a red blip on the screen. My Su-27M is on patrol again. I'm using it as a fighter at this point. It has those 4 long-range Wimpel missiles, those R-77s. I'm not likely to use the KH-29Ts at this point, the anti-tank weapons. I'm just trying to get the Eagle to take the bait. I want the Eagle to come close, because then the books can take it out. I'm not banking on my own plane being able to do that, not at this range. But if that F-15C approaches, let's say, this line, that is when it is well going to be inside a range of those books. And that was my plan. Just lure them in, don't play too risky. Just keep it safe. Bring that aircraft in when I can, keep it on patrol, scare off enemy planes like this intruder over here. The tram intruder carries 4 missiles. Kudos to Monetarist for using these things at Elite. And the ships are going to have a pretty hard time defending against those missiles, and one actually got, I think, quite close or even hit the Jang U-3. These things have 150 hit points, so judging by the impact, they didn't quite get hit. But they definitely took some splash damage from a missile exploding quite close. Now there's another F-15C Eagle over there. I'm not exactly sure why he called it in from over here. Maybe the spawn here was too close, which means that the plane was not able to arm in time. In which case, spawning it in from Gregory was absolutely the right call. Now the enemy tries to keep clustering these ships, just to keep them at bay. That was working out quite well for me, because that means that the enemy is investing in artillery, and maybe not so much in frontline units, so my allies don't take that many hits. But it could also mean that the enemy is lacking in a bit of anti-air. And that, for an airborne deck, is great news. Now, this guy, Mad Doctor, was not really resupplying his own books. So I had a couple of Ural 375s going back and forth, and making sure that these things kept their amount of missiles, making sure that they were active, or at least supplied at all times, and ready to fire. I need these things as my ally. Over on the right, we still have a bit of an incursion. SBS. Not a whole lot that we can do about it, and you could argue that from here, they're not that grave of a risk. Because they cannot really push in, not like that, without being detected. And especially with these buildings being occupied, it's going to be very hard for the SBS to push in. So I wasn't really too worried about it. Now, I kept a close eye on this Su-27M from Piotrek, because I wanted to know how much resistance it was encountering, and the answer was 0. There's no AA on this flank. There's also seemingly no AA coming up from this area, which means that there's likely not going to be any SAS. So that meant that maybe I could operate. And now we see some response. That's the SAS, and there's even a Milan 2 team. Gogo really got far behind our lines. Unfortunately for him, nothing to target. Now, this is an interesting position that they had set up. This tree line. They had the SBS over there, so that's the reconnaissance. They had the Milans over here. I'm not sure what they were trying to do. Because from over here, it's going to be hard to push into Gregory. SBS can only spot, so they can see what's going in, but they cannot really do much about it. The Milan team over here, it has a range of 2450. Now I'm going to guesstimate a little bit. I'd say that's about here. What are you going to hit there? I don't really get it. Because our vehicles are going to take this path, this road, maybe this path and then over there. But nobody is going to go here, there. It just doesn't make sense. So I personally wouldn't really use this flank. I don't think it's going to be that useful. But this guy did. And he might have gotten some points. But overall, he was actually feeding us. Both in the form of giving us targets in the form of helicopters, but also giving us ground targets. And especially Milan 2 team is easy to take down. I Am Dollar says the SAS is dead. Yo says the Milan team is dead. I placed an attack marker noting that there was a Milan team over there. There's more SAS coming down. And again, there's not really much that the SAS can do. They're not that big of a threat. So, once again, they are detected. They're getting mortared. There's a Spat Foca over there, which can really quickly decimate the SAS if they get close. And Gogo apparently was not feeling so secure anymore and is falling back at this point. Scores? Really close, actually. 1355, 1660. Now, we still have a half hour left, so there's plenty of time for anything to happen. Blue can still win. We can still really poorly fuck up, or really badly fuck up, and with that, send the victory to Blue. It's all going to come down to what Blue has over here and how aggressive they're going to be. Now, fortunately, we were able to counter-cap this area of Fedor. And that means that we have 5 sectors. Blue only has 4 and is missing out on a +4. This little difference could, again, snowball. It means that we can spawn more units in and with that, overwhelm. Although, as you have seen in another recent video, it is not a guarantee. It can very easily go entirely wrong and mean that you're just overspending and making all sorts of mistakes. Speaking of mistakes, Colonel Kurtz, he called in a Type 21. I don't know why you would ever want to call in a Type 21. Well, okay, maybe that's not entirely fair. The Type 21, it has this Vickers Mark 8. That's a really nice gun at 4.5 kilometer range. It is, however, bad at defending itself. If a missile is coming in on the Type 21, it is also quite likely to hit the Type 21. It does have some Seacats, which are reasonably good at defending the ship, but it only carries 32, and these things go fast. And by going fast, I mean you run out of them really quickly. On top of that, they have pretty piss-poor anti-ship missiles. The Exocets are some of the worst anti-ship missiles in the game. They have a range of 6.1. They have poor accuracy. That's a 45% accuracy. You might get a little buff if you're getting more veterancy, but this guy is a rookie. You're fighting ships which have some training, although this one's still a rookie. The Hujan is still quite close, but has taken severe damage and is not that likely to pull away from that island. So you're still fighting 2 ships. These both have very good CUIs and they have 20% ECM. On top of that, they outrange you. And not by a margin of a couple hundred meters. They outrange you by 2.6 kilometers. That's a hell of a range. That means that the Zhang Yu-3s are going to be easily capable of taking out the Type 21 before this thing gets its first shot off. This is one of the worst ships that you can call in. If the enemy has 2 Zhang Yu-3s, I probably wouldn't even call in a ship. Because it's just a waste of points. If you want to target this, use either anti-ship batteries or a larger group of anti-ship planes. And you will have to coordinate that with your allies, otherwise it might not work. Because if, let's say, if you buy a couple of anti-ship planes and your buddy buys some, and they all scatter, so one doesn't attack and another one doesn't attack, and these ships are going to just sit there and laugh at you. If they don't, shoot you down, because they have a range of 2,800 meters. So the 2 Zhang Yus over here, don't try and send in a ship. Because this is what's going to happen. Now, a little bit of an important thing here. And I feel that this is sometimes slightly misunderstood by players. Over here and over here you got the anti-ship missile batteries. That means that this ship is currently, and it doesn't really look like it, it's currently using this battery. This one is aimed to starboard, this one's aimed to port, so to the left side of the ship. What you will see these ships do is turn around. So this one's firing a missile and then reloading and fires another one. Normally they fire them in the barrage, but I'm not exactly sure why this ship isn't doing that at the moment. There goes another missile. There's a pretty poorly executed attack, but even so, it is hitting the Type 21. And these guys have a lot of anti-ship missiles between the 2 of them. This is the perfect dissuasion for the Type 21, and it is getting out as quickly as it can. Unfortunately, it might not get that chance. There she goes. Type 21 dead. The Jangyus still even have 4 anti-ship missiles left per ship. They can do this again. Don't be the guy who calls in the Type 21. The only reason I would ever use a Type 21 is if the area is entirely clear along the coastline. A Type 21 could get here. This position, let's say here. And from there you can bombard targets which are pretty far inland. That helps. That's a range that some of the other ships don't have. Aside from that, there is really no excuse. Now this also caught my eye. That's quite amusing. Axe Team is using a couple of J711s. These are 45-point aircraft. They are all rookie. They don't have any long-range missiles. They have 0% ECM. But they do come with 2 fire and forget short-range air-to-air missiles. Useful against both helicopters and planes. And the Tomcat is usually very good at taking stuff out at long range, but it doesn't turn particularly well. Turn radius of 400. These things don't exactly turn very well either at a range of, or at a turn radius of 500. But there are a lot of them. And they are trying to make their turns, getting off their little missiles. Tomcat over here is seemingly dodging everything. And these guys are all Winchestering out of the battle. Interesting fight. And hopefully they at least got one little hit on that Tomcat, so it's going to be out for repairs for a bit. I'm keeping my SU-27PU and 27M on patrol over here, trying to keep these ships safe. To make sure that Blue gets dissuaded from using any further strikes against these ships with planes. Over here on the right, I'm going to be able, or I was able to assist in taking down 1 helicopter. But aside from that, this Mi-24P is for the moment not going to see that much action. Our team is pushing up well here. Yo with the BRDM-3 is pushing in. The Sissy are fighting off the last of the SBS. And this is what I mean. Gogo is just going to be losing points here and really does not have that much that he can do against it. Now, once again, the J711s are on patrol on the far left. The ships are once again under attack from cluster artillery. And I think that with that, the enemy is losing a lot of points. They are just wasting a lot of points on buying artillery and supplies just to keep these things going. Sure enough, there is a fob here. You can just see the outline of it. But is that worth it? Is it worth all this artillery to take down a 110-point unit? In this well, in this case, you could argue, well, maybe. Maybe, but this ship currently here is not a risk. If you see a ship at 1 hit point, I would probably just ignore it, because you're quite certain that the player is not that likely to use it. Because it's such a weak ship at that point. Most targets can hit it and can then kill it off. And sure enough, it is a 110-point unit. It's not that expensive, but it can pose quite a threat. Still, with the position over here, long-range anti-ship missiles, 8.7 kilometer range, it could help out against ship spawns over here. So I wouldn't risk it like he's doing. He is pushing in. And the Bradley is firing back with HGMs. And sure enough, he had to move, but he could also move just up. So I'm not exactly sure why he's doing this and what exactly his plan is. At this point, my units, well, they weren't doing that much. I've only scored 210 points so far, taking down 1 F-15C, a Lynx, and I don't know, something here, maybe? I haven't really done this much at this point. Oh, right, and I was flying over a Seed. I was flying over a Seed aircraft. There's a Patriot missile, as I Am Dollar says. We were having a bit of a discussion about that, and yes, there is indeed a Patriot. I now saw it moving around. If the Patriot's over here, this area, it's going to be quite a risk. Because Patriots have greater range than the Book. I'd say the Book range is about something like this. Possibly a little more. Maybe that range. So say any plane that gets into that range is going to have a bad day. Patriots are worse. Patriots have a lot more range. I wouldn't be surprised if Patriots could start hitting targets as they fly over on this area. So this whole area, and including the town over here, is basically a no-fly zone for me. That's good because I wasn't using bombers anyway. And as long as the Patriots over there and my planes are just doing escorts of these ships, I don't mind that much. Let them have their Patriot. Let them move it around. Let them waste their concentration, their attention on that one unit and try to keep it alive. Try to keep it fed as well. Because a Patriot's a hungry unit. Supplying it is not cheap. Now at this point there was an M1A1HC detected. And seeing that this side of the map had very little AA, if any, I know that there's still one SES squad around here somewhere. But aside from that, the M1A1 is seemingly unescorted. Because we already flew a couple of sorties over here, and that was Piotrek. And he was not engaged. Except maybe by the planes. So I deploy my Su-27PU as a deterrent, saying, hey, if you're going to come into this airspace, you're going to get shot at. The F-15s probably don't want to come out and fight. And in the meanwhile, the Su-27M is going in with the missiles, completely fluffs the first one, gun runs it, and dunks 2 more missiles into it. That's 155 points. Again, this position, I don't know. That tank? Where is my cursor? Oh, my pen just crashed, I think. The pen program. Yes, here we are again. This is where the tank was. I don't really know what his plan was. Because you cannot push here with a tank. You're going to run into infantry. You cannot push here, because there might be an HGM unit over there, or here, potentially here. Because from this HGM position, you can also lock down this whole area. Any vehicles that come over these bridges are going to get shot at by HGMs. You don't want that. So this M1A1 over here, way out of position. It really shouldn't be there. Because it was just going to end up dead. To make matters worse, they could not get any reinforcements to it. This bridge... let me just reset everything. This bridge was getting controlled by the Erics. Not so much controlled in the sense that everything is going to get shot at, but they will see something coming. I'm not even going to discuss that. The whole area over here is already being conquered by whatever kind of infantry that is. That's Commandosi. We have ATGMs over here. If they want to bring AA, they're going to have to go all the way here, along this road, over this bridge, along this road, and then you're close to the tank. That's a hell of a distance. Let's say you take this bridge. In that case, the Erics will see you. Not so much that they can see all the way out to that bridge, but once you're making this turn, this road, they will see you. So this tank, bad play. Don't go there. It just doesn't work. And I think the tank could have been far more useful operating in this area over here. Just this line. Not so much out in the field, because I might have gotten a little aggressive and taken it out with the Su-27M. Not to mention the 27 or 72 BU over there. But where it was, not so useful. Alright, at this point, my Mi-24P is engaging a group of SAS. It did take them out. Unfortunately, lost its targeting system. Now my helicopter lost its targeting system, which means that I had to fall back. I was actually doing more damage to my own friendlies than to the SBS at this point. So this was a bad move. I should not have fired. I did take out the SAS though. That was helpful. But aside from that, the SBS, not so good. Now the SAS were armed with the Stinger. I know that this thing has one front armor, so it can take a hit. In fact, I think it even took 2 hits. And the SAS only carry 4. Now they will not hit every shot, and that's what I was banking on. So the Mi-24P was likely to survive. It was not blindly sending a helicopter into an SAS squad, because that would have been foolish. But sending it into an SAS squad where there was not likely to be any further SAS, and where I was expecting backup from these guys, the Sissy, the Erics potentially, and the Hera, even an Mi-35 at that point, I thought I could win this, and I did. So, just going for pretty safe attacks there. Now, at this point, flying over another Su-24 Seed aircraft. It's not going out alone. There's an Su-27 around it. And I'm also using this as a bait, because I still have my books. And the books are going to be quite helpful. If an enemy plane comes after the Su-24... This is really quite annoying. I'm recording this quite late. It's 12:15 at night. And of course, cats are night creatures, so one of my cats is first playing with one of her toys quite loudly. That might have made it into the video. And now she's meowing all over the place, running rampant through the house. Cats. Right. Well, it could have been worse. Could have been a dog barking the whole time. Anyway, the Su-24. I am hoping that there's somebody who's going to take the bait. If they are going to take the bait, the Su-24 has 20% ECM. And probably will be capable of at least shrugging off one missile. The Tomcat is taking the bait. Monetarist. It's not an elite Tomcat as well. So he's not going to be capable of doing that much aerobatics. I have an Su-27 PU and I have the books. So I'm relying on this combination of factors to try and keep my Su-27 alive. Tomcat fires once. Here comes the missile. The MiG-29-913S chases it down, knocks out the radar for the Tomcat, tries to fire off a second missile, and nails the Tomcat. Risky play here from the MiG-29. But I was hoping that the enemy was still a little worried about the Su-24, and the Su-24 did get hit, assuming by the Tomcat. The Su-24 kept the enemy radar suppressed. So the MiG-29 made it out, my aircraft made it out, the Q-5D is even going to make it out, and the Harrier GR-7 is maybe not going to make it out. Yeah, he just made it out. He just got one hit point left, though. And now we're getting a little bit more aggressive over here, especially Piotrek, who also got his MiG-31M shot up. This thing has fired 3 of its 6 missiles. Not terrible accuracy at 40%, but then again, you're firing it well over 12 kilometers out. So I don't really blame him. Anyway, at this point, the battle was, well, it was not quite decided. It was 22.95 versus 37.60. And I believe that at this point in chat, I was reminding the team that it's okay to win, but try not to win too hard. And by that, I mean, don't do what the team did in the video from a couple of days ago, where they just pushed in with a lot of stuff, and Blue put up a good defense, and they still lost the game. Because they lost more stuff losing, or they lost more stuff pushing up. So that was quite risky. I did not want to see a repeat performance. Because at this point, I was actually doing alright. I scored 400 points, there's just a couple aircraft. There's still a Block 52 operating over here, an F-16C. And I'm trying to scout for my allies here. I know they have the Spetsnaz Gru. I know that we have the second Spetsnaz Gru over here. But the thing is, this Spetsnaz Gru has been smoked up, at least a little bit. And this T-72BU probably needs a better spotter. So I'm using K-52 over here to spot. Took down a helicopter, just a frog. That was 25 points for the helo and 30 points for whatever came inside it. So I think that might have been a SEAL team for 30 points. Maybe a Ranger group, I'm not really sure. Anyway, the K-52 down to one of its swarm missiles. There's also a Twardy here. The Twardy was relying on the spotting from the Spetsnaz, so I'm relocating the K-52. Trying to get it a little bit further to the west to provide it spotting on potential targets over here. I couldn't really see anything, unfortunately. And we also had the Erics there and my Spetsnaz VMF. These MiG-21s were getting really aggressive. And they are paying the price. The Su-27M takes out a second Bradley. And I don't really know why they were relocating. Because what these guys were doing, I think there was a Bradley here and a Bradley there. They were heading this way. Just like that. That's risky. Because if you zoom out a little more, currently, we don't have any HGMs here. But that could have easily been different. If you have a Humvee going that way, it's exposing the side armor to the vehicle or to anything that is firing at it from here, this tree line, there. It could have very easily been shot in the side, as all these units will engage with ATGMs, were they there. In this case, they weren't. So they actually got away pretty damn well, but it's quite risky doing it like that. Now, I was testing the waters and taking out another aircraft with the Su-27M. Also watching what the J-7H was doing, and it is getting hit. Trying to find the directions of, or the locations of the missiles, and it is more or less here. There seems to be quite a bit of NTR on these positions. At this point, though, the books finally wake up, take down the Harrier. My Su-27PU also tries to pitch in, but I don't think it actually got any of the hits in. And that's another aircraft from Blue dead. Scores 2680 versus 4290. At this point, we were successful, we being, in this case, I think, Aviator and Piotrek together, in wiping out Blue Force Command Infantry over here, on these islands. So that means we also get the income from Anna, which is really welcome. I'm bringing the K-52 back, trying to get this thing, well, mostly refueled, but also get those Iglos on board, because I want to start scouting somewhere else. I want to start scouting here. The reason that I want to be scouting over here is that I know that Blue is losing fighters. And they're losing fighters pretty quick at this rate. They still have some Tomcats, they still have a Block 52. But we still have quite a few fighters, including an interceptor. There's even a Yak 141 out here currently. We still have the Jangyus. I think that there is going to be another ship approaching as well. And if I can spot on this line, so I would have my helicopter, let's say, move in this direction. I can try and spot, and since it is a Ka-52, it has a seed missile. In fact, it has 2 of those. So any NTR platform within 3.5 kilometers that turns on its radar is going to get hit. For some reason, the enemy was flying in with a Ra'am at this point. I didn't quite get this. I mean, on the one hand, I go, yeah, it makes sense, because you want to drop those Mark 82 Griffins right on top of the T-72BU, if you know where it is. But you're also flying into the receiving arms of an Su-27. And not just that, because at this point, I think there was more AA. Here, there's a Neva. Sorry, a Niwa in this case. We got 2 more books. It's, well, it's not quite a no-fly zone yet, but I would really reconsider. Where does this thing drop its bombs? On a Bryusa and a recon squad. Waste of a great bomber. Really, really big waste. Su-27 makes it out unscathed, and the Block 52 also makes it out unscathed after being ordered to evacuate the area. Now, K-52 is refueled, rearmed, and ready to go, and I'm taking this helo back into enemy airspace, or at least on the way towards enemy airspace. The J711s are once again out in force. I got a good laugh out of these things. They were just pushing around, also absorbing enemy AA. But the way that they're so close together, if you hit the middle one, there's a good chance you're going to take multiple of these things down. I'm not sure if that actually happens at this point, but I'm not... There you go. They didn't get taken down, but I think it was one missile from a short arrow that actually hit one of them. And the result was that all of them took damage. That's how close these things are. And that's how risky this play was. Then again, they're only 45-point planes. Between the 4 of them, you can still not... Well, no, that's not entirely true. For the 4 of those, you can forward one Su-27PU at 180 points. But still, it was a funny distraction. And a great way to absorb enemy fire. Now, I'm scouting up with the K-52. Also looking for targets with the Su-27... Sorry, with the Su-24. I know there's a Shanav here. For some reason, it's being kept active. I don't know why. Maybe the guy was just forgetting to turn it off. Maybe he's new. I don't know. But at any rate, the Su-24 takes it out. That's another Shanav dead. Now, at this point, I also brought up an Akula. This is a very lethal combination. K-52 and a Kula. I went for the Kula instead of the... what's the other? The Mi-28, because the Mi-28 double taps. That means that the Mi-28 has, I think, fewer potential to kill. At least kill fewer targets altogether. When I say double tap, I mean that the helicopter fires 2 ATGMs. This one fires 1. Now, I might as well have double tapped this thing, because 2 missiles missed the V-150, and the third one finally strikes home for a whole 15 points. An I-Hawk Pip 2 moves into position. Quite a risk to my helos. Range, 3325. My helo has a range of 3500 with seed. I want to fall back a little bit. First see if some other seed aircraft is capable of taking it out. In the meanwhile, I still have an Su-27M, trying to keep it close. And the PU. So that they don't do gun runs on my K-52 and my K-50. The Block 52 from Motorist comes back... from Monetarist comes back in. A good play here. Because he was coming in as I was pulling away from the battle. Which means that he could fire missiles and I could not. J7H, however, is having none of that bullshit. And is just chasing down the Block 52. It only has, at this point, a gun left. But between him and the MiG-29, they are able to take down the Block 52. So that's another fighter from Blue gone. There is, however, another one. This time, he fires a couple of AMRAAMs, going for a different target. I think he might have been going for the Su-27. The Su-27M, that is. That means that the PU and the Su-27M together can engage with their long-range missiles and the short-range R-73A from the Su-27 PU. So I'm firing off a couple of missiles, and there goes another Block 52. That's another fighter dead. At this point, I think they don't have that many planes left. At least not fighters. They might have a ton of bombers. I don't know about that, and I don't really care about that. I also have no idea what Mad Doctor over here was doing, because he was pushing in with a book. 3 books, to be exact, and only 1 survives, for the moment. Now at this point, a Pip engages the Phi bow. Mistake. I know that there's a Pip over here. Immediately throw down an attack marker because I'm actively watching this region. I know that there is another AA unit over here. So I need to be careful not to get too close. Now, what's going to happen is that he fires again. He tries to go after the Q5D, I think. Or was it the S-24? Yeah, look at this. He's turned off. Now he turns it back on. Well played to him. He tries to make sure that he gets the missile onto my plane when it's turning away, so I cannot return fire. And he actually gets me. He hits me for 9 hit points, and the S-24 is basically out of the fight. At this point, I know that he's fired at least 2 missiles, and probably 3. And now he's defenseless. So now I'm saying empty. I am Dollar said there is a Hawk over here. Correct, but the Hawk cannot do anything. It also means that the Hawk will not get picked up by the K-52 because its radar is now disabled. But the K-52 is perfectly capable of going after... the K-50 is going after the targets with its ATGMs, with those Vickers. So we got 1 missile striking into the AA piece. And that was... well, I was quite happy about that. Outplaying it. A couple of MLRS, taking down 2 of them. That's another good way to redeem the investment for your tank. The enemy immediately spawns in another Shanav. There it is. Or rather, there it was. Because my Akula was hovering overhead. The K-52. This thing fired 1 seed missile and immediately struck home, killing off another AA piece. The Avenger is a bigger problem. Because I can't see it. I don't know where it is or where it's going. And at this point I'm relying on the Jiangyu 3. The enemy once again spawns in a Pip 2. Seed missile launched from the K-52. And it does a fancy jump right over the target and misses. Now I have to fall back. But the K-52 was capable of spotting the Avenger. And the Avenger was spotted just long enough for this ship to assist. This is what I was hoping for. If I provide the spotting, I can have the Zhang U-3s help me out. And that's exactly what's happening. This means that as long as I keep the Ka-52 in relative proximity to the I-Hawk, the ships can still assist. And if that doesn't work, I can always fly an SU-27M at it. It's risky to do so. I don't want to. And I'm hoping that the ships take it out, and they do. So with most of their AA being gone, there were 2 being spawned in. They're both dead. There was an Avenger over there. That's dead. That means that most of these units are no longer a threat. And I'm relatively certain that I can push in here. On the other flank, we did not really push up that much. I think my allies got... Well, they got pushed back. They were getting quite close to this town, and then they either decided not to push further forward, or they just didn't have the units for it anymore, or bringing in more stuff. I don't exactly know. I was happily operating over here on the left. Score, 58-55 versus 41-45. So we're leading by 1,700 points. Ka-52 spots the the M151A1CP. Akula flies in, fires an ATGM, misses, gets hit, gets missed, and now it gets hit. And there's a short arrow. This guy, Fratson Mats, he was the one who also tried to counter my helicopters with his hawks. I think there was a hawk here and another hawk there. He finally got me. The short arrow actually nailed the Ka-50, which is bad news for me, because yes, I can still spot, but I cannot kill. And spotting in this case is what I'm just going to have to fall back on. And as long as I can keep that M1A1 spotted, I might be able to do something about it. And at the same time, I'm dancing away from that AA piece, making sure that the Ka-52 does not get hit. Now, I spot a Humvee, and the ships are immediately turning that into scrap. A Black Hawk spawns in, and the Ka-50 takes a bit of a, or Ka-52 takes a bit of offense to that and shoots it down, killing the infantry inside as well. M1A1HC is spotted. That's a 155-point tank. SU-27M looking for the angle. I had already called this thing in. And with no anti-air response from Blue, I'm able to dunk 4 missiles into the target, or well, more or less, because I saw another one of those dance over the target, and killing off the tank. So at this point, that means that the risk to the ships is mostly diminished. An M1A1HC is not that grave of a risk. I mean, sure enough, it can sustain some bombardment from these Zhang U-3s, but no ship... Oh, sorry, no tank likes to be on the receiving end of a constant HE bombardment. And these things fire 24 rounds a minute per ship. So that's about 1 shell every 2.5 seconds for 6 HE. That's almost stun locking your tank into position. Now, since I had used my only Ka-50, I have to bring in an Mi-28. This thing has 16 attackers Vs against armored targets, rocket pods, and a 2A42 autocannon. I am going to have to wait for a little bit for this thing to catch up to the Ka-52 though. At this point we own 90% of the points, and now my allies are pushing into the town. I still had the helo over here, and I'm moving it around, but I didn't really know what the enemy had AA-wise. And when I saw a Mistral over there, and I think there's another infantry back here, I changed my mind, and I pulled the Mi-24P back. Because I saw no real advantage to risking the Mi-24P over facing an unknown area. Most of my attention was directed at Boris, and finding out what I had on the target side over here. I'm spotting, and I'm asking my ally here, X-Team Flash, can you get closer? Because he can take out targets. I can take out some targets with the Ka-52, like for example the Bonbu, the command infantry, which is a nice target, but anything AA and I die. The Ka-52 just does not have anything left. No anti-radar missiles. It has 2 Iglas left, but that's not a lot either. Fortunately, the Mi-28 has arrived. And the Ka-52 is now finding the second command vehicle in this sector. I'm trying to find it so that the Mi-28 can take it down. And I was actually trying to steal their fob as well. I was thinking, well, if I land, I will be able to engage or to capture the fob. This is when, once again, Frats and Mats, definitely hell-bent on taking down my helicopters, spawns in a Piphawk, or a Pip-2, sends out a missile, and fortunately for me, at this point, the Ka-52 was on the ground, meaning it's no longer an aerial target. And the missile cannot target ground targets. Now, because the threat was so severe, I thought, oh shit, I'm not even sure what I'm dealing with. Is that an ATGM or an AA missile? I don't know. So I'm going to keep it landed for a second and then take off. So you can see that it landed and then it immediately got off the ground. And actually, I'm not even sure if it entirely landed. But anyway, it was able to survive. 5,800 for blue in kills, 7115 in losses. I'd say these guys played fairly well overall, although I'm not exactly sure what Gogo was planning with that flank. I think he could have used his forces more productively elsewhere. Because sure enough, it kept us off target a little bit, it kept us a little busy, but aside from that, it was more of a nuisance than anything else. Frats and Mats, he made positive. He was the one who I was dueling with on the AA front. And Monetarist, he was the one operating the planes, or at least one of the players operating the planes. I think Sharpmaster was the other one, but he lost a lot of points and didn't score that much. Monetarist, he had the Block 52s. I think he was risking them by sending them out one by one and not flying them out in formations. 2 Block 52s is a lot more dangerous than just the one, because they can throw up so much missiles that the ECM from my fighters could get overwhelmed. My score, 1820 versus 210. I didn't take out that many targets though. My kill list is actually not that long, but they're high value targets. M1A1 HC, a second one, an Eagle, a Ra'am, a Block 52. I took out a Bonbu, a command infantry. I took out, yeah, here's the Shanav, it's not that stellar. Took out the 2 LAR 160s. I took out a Nanayon Shiki, a command vehicle, a Pip-2. That was the Akula. And then the Mi-28 only took out 1 Pikud. Losses, the Conquerors early in the battle. A Ural that was transporting my Spetsnaz VMF. The Spetsnaz VMF died a little later as I was trying to get them to cross the bridge. And the Akula died to the 10 SAM short arrow. Now, I hope you enjoyed this replay. I hope the video is going to come through properly, because normally I just use capture game instead of capture screen. And that's what I'm using right now, capture the screen. So that I can record the game and do these little drawings, if you will, with the Epic Pen software that I'm using. Anyway, let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments. I hope it was useful. I hope I was able to show you how I was thinking, what I was thinking, and when I was thinking it, and how it could have helped me win the battle. Let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments. And if you have a good replay, send it in. Link down below in the description. Also, down below in the description is a link for Patreon, because I can definitely use your help. Just a couple of bucks a month, and that's going to help me keep the channel afloat. Otherwise, I might have to go look for a job again. The channel was doing really, really well with the Transport Fever boom. And now it's going way back down. Income-wise, view-wise, subscriber-wise. So I'm hopeful that I can still keep the stuff afloat using Patreon. Anyway, link to that down below in the description. And thank you for watching. Thank you for your attention. I hope to see you soon in another video.